Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to ELTea MENA, which is our coffee break style advancing learning podcast series. My name is Nathan Waller, and I'm your podcast host today. And if you haven't joined us before for an ELTea time, for each episode, I'm joined by a guest, an educator who is based right here in the Middle East and North Africa region, or MENA. And together we engage in a 30 to 45-minute discussion on a contemporary topic of their choosing over a nice cup of tea. My tea today is raspberry, and there was another flavor. I forgot what it is now. Oh my God. Raspberry and something. I'll find out in a minute. It's on the packet. So today I'm joined by Deema Abusharkh. Deema, welcome to the podcast. It's really lovely to have you.
Hi, everyone. I'm really thrilled to be among you, and I'm thrilled to talk about gender-sensitive classes with Nathan.
Yeah, we can't wait. Before we get going, are you also drinking tea? I think you are.
Yes, I have black tea with mint.
Black tea with mint. Nice.
Yeah,
I do like
fresh mint.
Yeah. Ooh, fresh mint as well. Feeling, I guess, North African, right? It's like Morocco, Algeria. It's a lot of mint tea, I think, in that.
I have no idea. In the Middle East, most of the time we drink tea with mint or with sage.
Ah, really? Okay. So I've
Yeah.
never had tea with sage. Maybe that's something I need to try.
It's really yummy.
Nice. Well, we're really happy to have you with us, and I'm super excited about today's conversation, which, as you mentioned, is going to be about gender sensitivity. Now, this is a topic which is, I guess, in itself very sensitive. In this region in particular. Obviously, I come from the UK, and in Europe, conversations around this are not quite as sensitive. So it's going to be really interesting. I come from one cultural background. You definitely come from another. So it's going to be interesting to balance out and see where our ideas take us as the conversation goes through. So let me introduce you. So you are Deema Abusharkh, and you're based in Amman in Jordan. And you work for the National Orthodox Schools, the NOS schools.
That's correct.
But I don't want to just introduce you as a bio. I'd like us to learn a little bit about more who you are behind a bio. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself so we can get to know you?
Okay, first of all, I like to introduce myself as a mom. I'm a mom of 5 children, that's first. And I am a teacher and educator. I've been teaching for 15 years. I'm an artist too and a writer. I published 1 book, and I have 2 books that are waiting to be published in Arabic and in English. And I'm a sculptor as well. I studied sculpturing in the Institute of Fine Arts in Jordan.
Nice.
And I am studying gender studies and women's studies in the University of Jordan. And I'm about to graduate. My thesis defense will be on May 16th. And it's talking, and it's going to be talking about female entrepreneurs in the informal sector in Jordan, and mainly about empowerment. That's why one of the resolutions that I came up with is gender sensitive classes towards stronger women that have more decision making in their lives.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's follow up with a few questions on that. You're a mom. That's priority number 1.
True.
How many kids? How old?
I have 2 girls and 3 boys. My eldest daughter is 17 years old. I have Abdullah is 16. I have Osama is 12, and Omar is 5 years old, and Selma is 4.
Wow! And you managed to study and work, and you got a full plate. 5 of those guys, and all your study.
As a woman, sometimes you have to be able to maneuver and just do all of the things that you need to do in order to get to the destination or to your ambition. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying my best.
Yes.
to manage everything. I think I'm doing a great job.
I'm sure you are. They say
Yeah,
moms have they have superpowers, and I'm sure it's probably
true.
right in your case. Amazing. So, and you're into a lot of arts-based stuff.
Mm.
I'd actually love to see some. Have you got like, do you, I don't know, I guess it's sculpture, so it's a bit different. Do you take pictures of them or do you
I
post them?
paint and I sculpt. Yes, I have pictures of them. Give me a second. I'll show you. I've been sculpturing for a year now. Um, the first thing that I sculpted was a bird, because I wanted to resemble freedom,
Nice.
freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of thought. That was the first thought that I thought about. My instructor wanted me to sculpt a cat. He was continuously telling me to sculpt a cat. Deema, I was like, I couldn't. Every time I held the clay in my hand, a bird came out, and that was my first sculpture, and I was thrilled by it. And I never thought that I could do something like that, to be honest.
It's nice.
Uh, I'll show you a picture of it. Just give me a second. I'm gonna open my Instagram.
That's okay. You could but send it to me on WhatsApp afterwards. Send me some pictures and
Okay,
I'll have a look at
okay,
it.
okay.
And I mean, it's clear right from the outset just how passionate you are about this particular topic and certainly about empowerment. So let's move on and talk a little bit about your experiences as an educator. You said you've been teaching for quite a long time, 15 years.
15 years, yeah.
So let's talk about your motivations and how you got started. Was it, I mean, I think I think an important quality for teachers is empowerment, inspiring students, empowering them, giving them new opportunities, I think is a key aspect
Mhm.
of being a teacher. Was that your initial motivation or was there a different motivation for getting into teaching?
Into teaching, okay. Let's start when I was a little girl. Every one of my neighbors, when they have any hardship in studying anything, they would come up to me and they would tell me, Deema, please teach us. And they would get really high marks after teaching them any topic: science, English, social studies, even Arabic. And after that, I came really passionate about it. The way I came to teaching, let's say in my context, I married in a young age. I got married in a young age. After that, after 5 years of not doing anything at all, I just took my certificate in translation and sat at home
Mhm.
to have children, take care of the household and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I suddenly decided to go and start working. Now, the first thing that the family thought about is to work as a teacher, because teachers have short time, they have the vacation and stuff.
Mhm.
But to be honest, I studied translation. I could have worked as a translator, but to be honest, teaching is my passion since forever. So I loved the idea, and I went to teaching. And I discovered through that journey that I'm really passionate about this. I'm passionate about building characters, helping students grow and
Yeah.
flourish through life. And I'm really passionate about it.
Yeah. And well, you're in good company because I did some research last year and overwhelmingly that message came through that people who decide to be teachers, they love connecting with their students. They love empowering their students. They love seeing them develop and grow. And there's, as you said, there's this real love of being a teacher, I think, for the people who do it.
True.
It's not for everybody, and it's certainly not easy work. We all know that. But the people who are, it sounds very much like even from this very early age, you had this natural aptitude to help
Exactly.
others and be interested in seeing other people develop and become better versions of themselves, which is nice. It's a good motivation. So, and I think
Yeah.
you're definitely not alone. Okay, so it's interesting to learn a little bit about your motivations. So let's move on to your passion, and your passion for this particular topic. So it's something that you're studying, as you mentioned.
True.
But let's break it down and let's go back to the kind of very foundation of the topic itself. For anybody who might be thinking, well, I'm not really that sure, what is gender sensitivity? What is a gender sensitive learning environment, I guess?
Okay. First of all, let's talk a little bit about gender. There's a difference between gender and sex. Gender is how the culture builds the characteristics of a female and a male. Now, why gender sensitive classes and why did I choose this topic? I feel that sometimes in the MENA region, women are not having their full rights. They're not pushed in the right way to their goals. They're put in this, let's say, mold of being in certain with certain characteristics and a certain personality. Now, this is not only in the MENA region, it's all over the world, because a survey involving over 2,000 children aged from 4 to 16 found that from an early age, children make assumptions that confirm their gender stereotypes. You're a girl, you wear a dress, you have to study art or to do whatever. You're a boy, you can be an engineer, you can be a doctor, and so on. Why gender sensitive classes? I have a lot in my mind that can be connected to this idea. First of all, because my studies is about gender, Prof. Benner said that in his ecological system theory, that the child has more than one circle that he or she grows in that make up their characters. You have the house, you have the school, you have the legislations, you have the university, you have the neighbors. A lot of things interfere in how these children are made and how they become strong in driving a car, let's say, or in making their own decisions. Here in Jordan, and I don't know if it's globally or I don't know if it's only in Jordan, they say that women make lousy drivers. And that's a thing that is really, people talk a lot about it. Every time there's an accident or anything, people would say, of course, it should be a woman. Of course, it must be a woman. No, woman is the one that made the accident. And you hear a lot of, even when I'm driving my car, I hear a lot of notes that women are really bad at driving. But if we go back of how women were made, how women were, how women grew in this culture, okay, being most of the time, boys are pushed outside. Go, you're strong, you can do this. Okay, take your own responsibility. Girls, and when they are at an early age, they are kept hidden. No, you can't. Don't ride a bicycle, it's not good for you. Don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. So she grows up with fear of simply driving a car or going outside or doing any activity that has to do with sport or physical activity and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think this isn't, it's not unique to Jordan at all. And it plays out in lots of different ways because it's effectively a power, a dynamic, right? So you see this all the time. You go to, like, even from where I'm from, the UK, and you'll see things like, I'm not good at art. Girls don't believe that they're good at sport. These types of things. And it's not that you're not good at sport. It's not that you've got worse hand-eye coordination because you're female or you're male. It's systems of belief.
Exactly.
Which are ingrained from a very early age, which are just basically recycled stereotypes. People are they're just acting according to the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If everybody keeps saying women are bad drivers, everybody just thinks that's true, but there's no real There's no science to back that up. There's no research into it. It's just a stereotype.
Exactly.
Women are not as good as men at football. That's just a stereotype. They absolutely can be. So it's breaking down those stereotypes. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. I made up in my study, in my thesis, I came up with a framework, joining empowerment with Brofmanner's ecological system, how these two intersect. If you want to empower women, if you want to end gender-based violence, if you want stronger women that have decision-making to be politicians or to be engineers or to be doctors or to work in science, math, and so ever, you have to work from an early age, okay, building within them this agency, this strength to be able, this self-esteem to be able to achieve and to be dominant. I don't want them to be dominant or to be, let's say, equal. If you look at, if we look at the SDGs, okay, the Sustainable Development Goals, we're talking about quality in education. That has to do with gender sensitive classes. This is my own idea. Okay, gender equality has to do with gender sensitive classes. Okay, if you look at no poverty, when women help men, okay, in getting income, the poverty would go down. The problem is, even here in some societies, the man is not providing, the woman is having babies. She's not working. Or it's vice versa. The woman goes and works and gives the money to the man. We have a lot of contexts that are happening in the MENA region and around the world that are not serving the no poverty goal. So that's how I connected all of these things together in my mind to come up with gender sensitive classes that are suitable to the context of my country, to the context that I'm living in. Because when you go and look through gender sensitive classes around the internet, you find a lot of things and you find a wide variety that might make people, let's say, scared in my context, okay, in the Jordanian context or in the MENA context, to even talk about this topic. But we can find something that is suitable, okay, and that serves the goal of empowering women. And by the way, if we talk about gender sensitive classes, you're not only empowering females, you're also working on males. It's on both sides, because when the culture is, let's say, not serving one gender, it's not serving the other in a different way. So you're working on both parties.
Yeah, of course. It's gender sensitivity, not female sensitivity that we're talking about, right? It's recognizing that inequality affects everybody. That's the effective message. I like the fact that you're talking about these and I've always called them circles of influence that we have around us. And I think a lot of people think that those circles of influence are like, when we see them in like textbooks, they look like concentric circles. It's like the child, and then it's like the family, and then the school.
The environment.
Actually, I don't really believe that. I think that those circles overlap so much and they influence each other so much that they're not separated from one another. That what happens in school and what happens in the home are deeply interconnected for that particular child, and the messages that they get continuously, if we're talking about gender stereotyping in particular, it just reinforces all the time, and is one different to another. There's so many dynamics for a child, and helping them to see the world in particular ways, especially when it comes to inequality. So you use poverty as one example. And most poverty is structural. It's structural inequality that creates poverty, and how that plays out is different in different contexts, but it's still structural.
Even when we talk about violence.
And violence is another one,
It's also because of lack of education. It's because of embedded messages within classrooms, within cultures, messages that are conveyed to females and males in an indirect way, building their mentality, building the way how they react and interact with their environment.
Yeah. So because I wanted to bring this kind of around, because we're talking quite broadly at the moment. I wanted to bring it back more a little bit to the kind of the classroom, a gender sensitive classroom. Because if I think about how to implement, and this was part of the talk that I attended of yours, which is how we got to know each other in Jordan, which is great, is amazing, was that, for example, we often have, as you said, these indirect messages because we're focused on one thing and we don't see something else. So for example, you have a page in your course book, or you print something off of the internet. I used this example in a training that I did in Egypt last year, actually. And it was, it's focusing on vocabulary. This is what I want them to know. It was about children's toys. There was a ball and a whatever, a bike and a teddy bear. But it was there was a boy and a girl in the picture. And it was what toys were on the left of the picture and what toys were on the right of the picture. What colors was the boy wearing and what colors was the girl wearing? For the language teacher, you just probably print that off the internet thinking, I'm just going to teach them the vocabulary. That's what's important. That's the purpose of the activity. But actually, for the student who sees the activity, it's just a continuous repetition of boys wear blue, girls wear pink, boys play with this, girls play with this. That is gender sensitive in the classroom, right?
I had a lesson a month ago. It was talking about pronouns, and they had two questions in the textbook. One of them was talking about an artist. No, one of them was talking about a teacher, and the other one was talking about an engineer. And they had to choose a pronoun. Well, guess what? They chose she for the teacher, he for the engineer. I said, stop. No, we're going to change them. They were like, no, teacher, that doesn't make sense. I said, no, this makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of male teachers. There are a lot of female engineers. And they just looked at me in a way like, what are you talking about? And I did it deliberately. And when I looked at the teacher's book, I found that the teacher's book used she for the teacher, he for the engineer.
So it's so easy to fall into that trap because of this. Exactly. I guess it's a narrow focus, right? It's whoever does something or makes something or delivers something is focused on something that you're not always able to see that bigger picture.
It's something that has been normalized.
Yeah, it's normalized. And I guess implementing a gender sensitive classroom is about consciousness, right? It's
about awareness.
Taking a moment and being conscious. Okay, I'm trying to do this, but what other messages might this say to my students? And it's not that it's always a bad thing, but again, if I use the example, I could use your example as well. It's not about trying to change everything. It's about having those conversations with the students, right? So you had this conversation with your students. I'm kind of moving on a little bit because I wanted to talk about it in practical terms, and we're kind of delving into that already, but that's fine. But we could say to them, okay, for your homework tonight, I want you to find 4 female engineers in Jordan or in the Middle East or in the Gulf.
Astronauts.
Astronauts, entrepreneurs. And bring them to the next class, and we're going to talk about them as role models, because we want students to see role models, right? Breaking down that, I guess, gender imbalance and giving them and empowering them is about giving them role models, right? Saying that you're not going to be the first female engineer. They already exist. They're over there. You just don't know that they exist because you're not looking in that direction.
Exactly. The first time I noticed that I was focusing, normalizing that males are engineers, astronauts, and so on. I used to teach business last year. And one of the things when I was talking about business and about entrepreneurship, I I got aware that I was talking to the boys and I'm not talking to the girls while talking about business and talking about entrepreneurship. And I stopped. I said, Deema, what are you doing? Both can be entrepreneurs. So I stopped and I said, well, for your homework, go find 5 female entrepreneurs. I made it for everyone. Everyone in the class had to do this because I wanted, even for myself, to look at that, to change my mind, how I was systemed, because it's systematic, through the culture, through what you hear, through schools, what you're good, what you should be good at, and what you shouldn't be good at. Sometimes you stop yourself. When I'm thinking about, let's say, a math equation or a math problem, sometimes I stop and I say, well, I can't do this. And then I stop and I start thinking again, no, I can do this. You stop yourself because it's inside your brain. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens all the time, I think. And it's so easy to fall into that trap internally.
True.
And yeah, I guess it's just taking a moment, being conscious, being aware, making yourself think, I guess, deeper about it. So I kind of want to think, I mean, I mentioned one kind of practical way, and you've also just mentioned that you approach this in quite a practical way, because we as teachers trust the materials that we use. So, and it sounds like you're saying that we can't always trust it, that mistakes will be made by others.
True.
And it's not that we can just be, oh, there's a mistake in the book. We can use it as an opportunity for learning, always.
For discussion, yeah.
For discussion, or for projects, or for all these different types of activities that you mentioned. But is this idea of implementing gender sensitive classes, is it something that is it an approach, or is it something we integrate into lessons? Is it something we always just need to have in the back of our minds, or is there a particular way to approach it? Let's say I'm a teacher and I'm based in, I don't know, Tunisia right now, and I'm listening to this. I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe I'm not that conscious of it. How can I start becoming more conscious? Where do I start?
To be honest, there are a lot of trainings online. I was checking that. I check a lot of things about gender sensitive classes around the world. There are a lot of courses online, but the problem is the course suitable for my context? Here's the tricky part. Okay, because you want to be accepted. You want to talk in a way that could be accepted, in an approach that could be accepted to your community, to your region, and at the same time you're making an impact, a positive one too, because you have a lot of ideas about gender sensitive classes and it goes wild. So it's how to use these ideas to implement a gender sensitive classes. From my own perspective, I think that there should be a course in the MENA region about that is suitable for the MENA region itself. And to be aware, awareness and knowledge is the key to everything for me. When you're aware what you're doing, when you pay attention to the words that you say, it makes a lot of difference. The students, the female students that took business with me now have small businesses of their own. They have small businesses that they're working on Instagram pages about accessories and beads and stuff. It means that I did something. I gave them something to feel that they are able to do or to achieve. And that's the key. That's what's all behind gender sensitive classes, is empowering girls and changing the way they look at themselves.
Because that's that's the first step, right? The first step of being empowered is accepting that you are perhaps holding yourself back, that your self-image affects your behavior and affects what you think you can access. Because we're shifting, we're not shifting, but this is part of a broader, I guess, topic, which is inclusion, right? It's about inclusivity. And inclusivity is about barriers that we experience as people. And whether that's to do with gender, whether that's to do with race, whether that's to do with belief systems, whether that's to do with culture, there's a whole variety of things that create barriers, disabilities, all sorts of things that stop us from becoming who we might want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because of, and it's not that that barrier is not created, it can be created by us, because it could be a psychological barrier,
Course,
but
of course.
it could be systemic or structural barriers as well. And that's also true here. If we're thinking about gender, I mean, we've got a wide region, 18, 19 countries, and a range of perspectives when it comes to conservatism right through.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, there's, even within countries, there's various levels of conservatism when it comes to gender. So we can't just be like, one place is like this, Saudi Arabia is like this, because it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of dynamics at play within there. But recognizing that there are certain barriers for certain people that might stop them from becoming who they want to be. And that you have to accept that before you can think about working on it.
Exactly. Okay.
Being
a role model to your students is very important. When we're talking about, as we said, when we're talking about prototypes, about anything that has to do with STEM, with science, technology, with engineering, with math. Okay, when we talk about that, try to use both pronouns, he and she, as I said before, showing them that there are a lot of people, role models around the world. Okay, that women that did something, men that are artists, men that are chefs, and stuff like that. Kindergarten teachers that are males, kindergarten teachers that are females, because yeah, all of these are barriers in front of these children, these students, to do what they love.
Yeah.
Okay, stopping them from getting to their goal that they can flourish in, that they can be excellent in, because it's not acceptable, or it was inside of them that this is not suitable for you because you're a male or a female.
Yeah. I mean, you're making it immediately very personal to me there, because I trained originally as a nursery teacher, kindergarten teacher. And in the UK, being a role model for those kids was really important to me. And it was really difficult because it was almost all females that worked in preschool in the UK when I got into it. And everybody was like, why would you want to do that, first off? But for those kids who I worked with, males, adult males, were dads and brothers. They took them to football matches, and they were manly men. And it was like, that's not the kind of role models that they need. They need a broader outlook on, what it is to be a guy or a girl. So yeah, it was a very kind of personal.
Showing them examples, as you said, of breaking these barriers. People that became what they loved, as I said, as astronauts or football players or basketball players or scientists, or a lot of things that you can show these students, to show them that there are no barriers, it's all in your mind.
And also, even though some progress has been made, there's still other areas. So, for example, if we're thinking about technology, I saw a statistic the other day, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was about the artificial intelligence and the number of females compared to males which are in this industry, and it was crazy low. It was like 8% of the AI industry is made up of female employees, and 92% is made up of. So immediately, if this is like people talking about this as a trend, and this is the kind of future for the next 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is, again,
where are the women?
We're still talking about another male-dominated industry. So get your teenage girls. No, you can learn code. You can learn how artificial
exactly
works.
Yeah,
This is an industry
you can excel,
because you can excel in that, and you should. And you will bring something to the table that those guys might not be able to think of or dream of, or you could take that industry in another direction and add. The more people, I mean, this is the thing about diversity, which is why I love the topic of inclusion in the first place, is that the more perspectives there are, I mean, the better it is, surely. It's like
True.
a table, would you want just one dish on the table? It's just, we're having all cabbage today.
Mm.
Or do you want like a range of dishes that have been made by different people from different cultures? And there's, you know, you go to that, you know, these huge buffets with all the different cultural foods. It's a feast, right? It's not just
True. True.
cabbage.
And even if we look at statistics in Jordan, and this is very important for me, in Jordan, people who own, let's say, a house or a piece of land, okay, only 6% of women in Jordan have property.
Yeah.
Imagine that. And not that, it's not only that. Females in the university have higher grades in school and in the university. And after they graduate, you have only 14% of women that work. It's really low when we talk about the workforce in Jordan. If we look at the GDP, okay, about the gross production in Jordan, women do not have that much participation in it, while they have the certificates needed. They just stay at home.
Yeah.
And they don't produce. They produce children.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, I think there's definitely a lot of work to be done in the employment sector around changing the way that's, because I remember reading something about why women don't often progress in the same way that men do in their careers. And it's because when they have kids and they take little chunks of time out, it's effectively a reset. Every time they have a kid, their career is effectively reset. So whereas men's continues on a gradual trajectory, women kind of go up and then they kind of drop down, and then they kind of go
True.
up and they drop down. So they're always, and the more you drift behind, the harder it is to pick up the pace.
Exactly.
So the gap is, and it's about gaps, right? It's the same with wealth or anything. It's the gap widens continuously. There's no way of pushing that back. Once you drift behind, you drift behind.
Even in the parliament, even in the ministry, you see 2 female ministers against, let's say, 12 male ministers. Okay, I need a woman to talk on my behalf.
Yeah, because it's representation again,
Yeah.
right? But then,
and in the parliament as well.
Yeah, it's such a tricky topic. Yeah, very difficult.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking you end up in this position, and this is really true, is that women feel that they have to sacrifice family to be able to become that minister quite often. So and in the mind, that's a psychological impact, right? It's making me, because the men don't have this. I don't have to say, do I choose this or this, which women do. If I have kids, I'm probably not going to have a career, or do I choose
or travel to have.
Yeah. Or do I choose my career and then have this ongoing thing with family and friends? Why don't you want kids? Because I'm having a career. Why? That's weird. You have all these social dynamics which play in as well, right? Which is really tough. We've drifted off topic a little bit. I wanted to think a bit, again, thinking about gender sensitive classrooms. I want to kind of bring it back because it's so easy with this topic of society and gender and sociology and anthropology we could talk about this forever probably.
That's why it's important. That's why, because it's in everything. It's all around us. The way we are built affects everything we do. So when we work on gender sensitive classes and build this agency within both genders, you're going to get better results in the whole society, in the country itself.
Yeah.
So that's why gender sensitive classes is a big topic, and it has a lot of things getting inside of it. Awareness is the key. Awareness is the key to teachers to approach this topic and to be aware how they implement their classes, how they talk to their students, how they how they tell their students, let's say we're facilitators in the classroom, and without knowing, sometimes we take the student to this side to see this side of the picture or that side of the picture. When you have sensitive gender classes, you can show the students the broad image, okay, of what abilities they have and what they can do in the future. And you can build a lot of self-esteem. And I believe that I made, even if it was a slight change in my students' lives, either if they were males or females, when they were thinking about their careers. Every time we have a story about astrology or about astronauts or about Mars or about anything from outer space, at the end of the class, I say, well, who wants to be an astronaut? Or do you know about female astronauts? Okay, why won't you be an astronaut one day? So you can just give them these messages. As long as we can give messages, why not give these embedded messages of empowerment within the students to get a stronger generation in the future?
Yeah. And it doesn't really take any time. It's just, like I said, a couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds, a minute here to take time out to get them to think about something or ask a question about something. And sometimes it could actually just be providing them or making them clear that they can ask you questions as well, right? Because that's a part of it. It's about us showing them stuff, us pausing to highlight something. It's having a classroom which is a safe space for students to be able to ask questions as well, right?
Exactly. And to be accepted. Acceptance is very important. When there is a kid or student, a girl that is a soccer player, when she sees that the teacher is proud of her accomplishments and is giving her more power to achieve, okay, that message of acceptance of her mind, the way she thinks, the way she acts, gives a lot of a positive push, a thrive for her to thrive more, to accomplish more. Sometimes teachers, without knowing, you're a girl and you're playing football, now that causes a setback in the student's achievement, and it might stay in her mind every time she plays football or soccer and stop her from achieving more. That's why I'm talking that gender sensitive classes is being humane. Is accepting, is helping, is pushing students forward in what they love to do without giving any judgments or without saying that, generalizing things and generalizing topics. Okay, this is a math class, boys are better in math. We know it's normal. It's well known. A lot of people have these messages without knowing. It's well known. It has been always normal in our class that boys are better in physics than girls. These messages build up in the students' minds and they just believe it. And they stop thinking that they're smart or they can do it. They have these barriers that can stop them from doing or achieving or doing what they love.
And when you are conscious of it, you see those barriers in action just by observing classes, because you start to see who gets asked to answer certain questions, who gets asked to take the register to the office. The two boys get to
exactly,
and they play out, and you start to see them more and more. The more you observe, the more you see it in action, I think.
Exactly.
And what you're saying is about it being important. I mean, this is why it is a key part of the Sustainable Development Goals, right? Is the influence and the impact that this particular topic has on not just kids in a classroom, but on society in general. Definitely.
True. The impact, it's like putting a seed and waiting for it to grow. And it takes time. Even when I started studying gender and women's studies, it wasn't easy to just go to gender sensitive classes and be aware. It takes time for you to start monitoring yourself.
Yeah, unlearning, they say, right? You unlearn.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah,
taking off, just exactly unlearning these ideas that were implanted inside of us.
yeah, yeah. Okay, the last thing I want to ask about, because I mean, obviously we're on board, we are advocates, we are empowering as many girls and boys as we possibly can. But I want to think, I mean, that I'm thinking we're in MENA. It is, or is it? I mean, you're teaching. Is it something that's challenging to try and implement? You studied it, so you're kind of bringing something and you're saying, right, I've got these ideas, I've learned this, or I've unlearned this, and I'm going to start implementing this now. But it's not as simple as that, because educations are traditionally quite rigid structural systems. You've got, when I say challenges, it's not just challenges with things like ministry curriculums, colleagues, the students themselves, parents. You've got lots of dynamics going on. Have you
True.
faced any particular challenges? How did you overcome them?
Well, sometimes I might have a discussion that could arise in my classroom. I would discuss it. I would stop everything and just discuss with the students. I cannot impose my ideas. We discuss until we get to an agreement. The second thing is, in the MENA region, you have to be careful when you're talking about gender, because there are a lot of negative thoughts that are tied to the word gender. Say gender in any place, and you will see a lot of people that are fighting back because they don't understand what does it mean. There's a lot of negative propaganda that is revolving around the gender word. That's, let's say, the main challenge that that people or teachers that are approaching gender sensitive classes might face. But the thing is, the way I approach it, I never say it's a gender sensitive class. It's the same thing as embedding these messages when you say that you can do football or you can do art. It's the same thing. I do it without them recognizing that I'm doing it. I'm building this self-esteem, okay, in a subconscious way of empowering without giving the title of gender. Because whenever I say gender, I will get all of these resistance towards it. So teachers who want to implement this approach or to start working on gender sensitive classes, they have to be smart, let's say smart, and to do it in a way that, because again, it's humane. You're doing something humane. So why tell them, well, this is a gender sensitive class? That would make no sense. You would get all of the resistance in the world. Just do it in a way that they don't recognize it.
Okay,
You're
so
building.
very subtle, questioning, highlighting.
Exactly, highlighting.
Like I say, sowing those seeds of initial thought, just asking, well, why? I guess some of it's about why, right? So they say something and you're like, well, why do you think that? So if I don't know, a group of boys say they can't do this because they're girls, why?
Okay, let's search.
Why? Yeah, can they? We've got examples where they can, and why do you think that? So getting them to, I guess, building empathy skills, right? That is. Yeah, nice. Okay, great. I'm sure there's loads of other things that I'm sure we can come up with. As I said, we could talk about this forever, but we've gone over time already. So let's kind of bring it to a wrap up a little bit. The last question I have is always around our favorite teaching tips. It could be a favorite tip you have for teachers. It could be Deema's words of wisdom, anything you like. Do you have a favorite teaching tip or tip for teachers?
Have fun. Teaching is fun.
Yeah.
Have fun and talk to your students. Talk to your students and let them tell you their own ideas, because they can all come up with loads of ideas that even us as adults and have a lot of experience, these ideas might be different to us because they have different perspective, different ideas than we have. They are more creative. So my tip is to have fun, listen to your students, have regular discussions. And I like to play with my students a lot, by the way. We play in the school, we play basketball, we play football, we play games like Kahoot and stuff. I like to participate to make them feel that we are the same. I'm just older. But I have the same, yeah, I'm just older, but we're the same, we're people. And yeah, I don't like to talk that I'm the top, I'm stronger, I have more information. No, we're equal, and you can be better than me one day.
Yeah, you're guiding them down that path.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I like that stuff. Very humanistic. A lot of stuff around rapport, which you're talking about there. It's so important, so that students see you as a role model, as a person. And not just somebody who comes in for 45 minutes.
Exactly, and just talks.
Deliver a grammar point from a presentation, but they see you as somebody that they can talk to and share things with. And you're right, when you start listening to them, the ideas that they have, and you know, and again, it goes back to diversity, right? That bringing all of those perspectives in makes for a more diverse classroom, and a more diverse classroom makes for a more interesting learning experience.
Exactly.
So much more to talk about. If it's just, here's the content from the board, you need to learn it for an exam. Well,
yeah,
fixed mindset right there, right? This is content, you need it, learn it, go away. But, you know, if there's lots of different perspectives, there's lots of questions. And again, that idea of a safe space to be able to ask questions and learn about things. Students should hopefully be more engaged, more motivated.
Exactly. They can talk. They can share their ideas.
Yeah, so it's a lovely tip to finish us up with. Okay, my tea ran out 10 minutes ago, I think. I should have got a bigger mug. I've got big mugs and I picked the small one. I shouldn't have. But it was such an interesting discussion, Deema. Thanks so much for taking the time this evening to join us and to share experiences, to share your passions with us, to share your tips and ideas, and to help other teachers who might be thinking about these particular topics to get started, to approach it in, you know, a realistic and a sensitive way, as you just mentioned. So thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure having you with us. For everybody who's been with us, I didn't even check the chat box. We were so engrossed in the conversation as we were going through. But if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to connect with us on Facebook or LinkedIn. Put your questions there and we can get back to you. Deema, we should definitely pick up this topic again.
Yeah.
You really think, I mean, you were saying about something about the MENA context. I mean, obviously the academy that I run is for this particular type of thing. So maybe I don't know, we could collaborate on an activity which thinks about this topic in MENA that could help teachers with practical, I don't know, whatever. I'll think of something, I'm sure.
Okay, I would be happy, delighted to help, because I would love to have these ideas spread among the world, among the MENA region, for the upcoming generation to have more opportunities than generations that didn't have those opportunities. So yeah, I would be delighted to do so. It's such a thing.
Yeah, and to translate those ideas into something that's quite practical, that teachers can say, okay, I can do this, or I can take that, and I can read this. I think it's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Anybody that was listening in, or if you're listening to this as a recording, thank you for joining us. I'm back again on Sunday for episode 12, and I'm going to be joined by Yusra, who's joining us from Tunisia. And we are going to be talking about growth mindsets of teachers and students, how to develop them. She's got some interesting activities that she's going to walk us through. So I'm quite excited about that one as well. It's another topic. I think it all relates to this as well. I think.
Cool.
Yeah, can't wait. For now, though, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Deema, once again. And we will
Thank
look
you.
again soon. Deema, I look forward to seeing you, hopefully, the next time I'm in Jordan. I'd love to come and see you.
I'd love to see you too. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And it has been fun. Thank you.